Welcome. This is what we call K9 Studios here. This is where we do all animation in this class. We really cover everything from video production, animation, but the focus behind it is storytelling. Who here loves movies? Raise your hand. Yeah, my teachers can raise your hand too. We love movies. How many people here love video games? Raise your hand. Woo! How about cartoons? Yeah, I love my cartoons. Well, that's what we do here in K9 Studios. And we basically deal with all these areas, but the foundation of my class and everything we do is story. And I broke this up a little bit for teachers, so I get questions all the time. What do you do for story and how do you do about story? And I've seen Doug do a few of these before, and they go through the whole process of what story is. You need a beginning, middle, and end, and you have to have an introduction of character, and then you have to introduce the problem and how the solution of the problem, and then the climax. I'm not approaching it that way. I'm going to approach it how we do for art. We're going to talk about different aspects of how color, shape, form helps you tell story. And we're going to go through that process. And also, we're going to play some games. Yay! Everyone loves games. That's right. And actually, every day in my class, I start off with a game. I have what's called story time in here. And whenever I'm starting off, when I'm doing roll, a student gets up here and tells a story. And that's one of the processes we do. The reason behind that, a little bit they know, is one, I get to know about them. Two, they're practicing one of the most important things in movie making, the pitch. You have to convince other people that your ideas are great and that we should make them. And to be able to do that, you have to be able to convey a story in words, quickly, make people see your vision, make them believe in your ideas, and then be able to go forward with it. And for students, that's really scary. Because usually when I ask them to stand up in front of everyone and say, tell a story, they're like, oh my God, I have to stand in front of class. And especially when they're art students, they're like, I got in this class so I wouldn't have to be up in front of anybody. I like drawing on my piece of paper. I don't want anyone looking at me. They're usually hiding behind their artwork. And it's like, nope, you need to come front and center and tell a story. And we're also going to do another thing where I'm going to show you, and we're going to play a game that we do in story time. So usually I demonstrate how story time goes. So I thought I'd tell you guys a story. And this is basically how story time works for my students. For you guys to get a sense a little bit about my story, you have to know a little bit about me. And truth be told, me and camping does not mix. I'm not a camper whatsoever. And tried to be. My father is an outdoorsman and wanted a son that was a camper and go out and do all these things with him, but he didn't get that with me. And this is usually how our camping trips went. My dad always took family out camping for our family vacation. He would drive up to the furthest reaches of nature, set up camp. I would run off, trip, fall, split my head open, have to take down camp, drive forever to the nearest hospital to fix me. The camping trips usually started where one time my father would usually always get to about nightfall, the worst time after all the hard part of camping was all set up, where you actually set up camp. You do all the hard work. And then my father would actually then go to light the lantern, and he was like, oh, who has a flashlight? Me being 10, thinking to save me from all this nature, keep the flashlight underneath my pillow. I'm like, I have it, Dad. He's like, go get it. So I run into my tent, and as I'm grabbing my flashlight, I come running out, and my dad's trying to explain to me, be careful of the dirt flap. You know, the little dirt flap that keeps all the dirt out of the tent? My foot catches on it. I trip and fall. There is a wooden bench. Bam! Face plants right into it. The bench broke off in my face. I have this huge chunk of wood. My dad looks at me. He's like, oh my God, break down camp. We got to go to the hospital. The shortest camping trip that's ever happened to me, we pulled up to the campsite. I was riding in the back of my father's pickup truck. At that time, we could ride in the back of a pickup truck. My dad had a boat rack in the back. and I was climbing out. I put my hand up on the boat rack, jumped off the back of the pickup truck. My hand stayed up on the boat rack, ripped a hole in my hand. Blood gushing out everywhere. See, I'm not lying. You can see my scar. My dad gets out of the car and goes, "Stay where you're at. He's already hurt himself." Drive off. Forever to find a hospital to repair me. Then my father got this great idea. He went off camping. Everyone's getting out. My father turns to me and goes, "You stay there." Okay. He gets out, grabs a folding chair, walks to the middle of the campsite, opens it up, sets it down, comes back to the pickup truck, grabs me, picks me up, carries me to this folding chair, sits me down in this folding chair, and stay there. His idea was that he wanted me to sit there while we set up camp. And I was like, this is great, because the worst part about camping is setting up and taking down the campsite. This is awesome. I'm sitting there. This is good. So they start setting up camp. My brothers and family's all doing this. And then I got a little thirsty. I'm like, I'm thirsty. Can I get something to drink? He's like, stay right there. Someone get him something to drink. My brothers had to go off and get me something to drink. I'm like, this is great. I'm being served by my older brothers. I'm a little hungry too. Get them something to eat. This is awesome. So I'm sitting there while they're setting up camp, drinking and eating and watching them and having good. My brothers are grumbling as they're walking by me. Need to get some work done. And he's sitting over sitting and eating and drinking. And then they're setting up camp. Everything was done. And then my brother's like, "Dad, can we go off and play?" And they're like, "Sure, go off and have a good time." They get up and start taking off and running. And I'm like getting up. My dad says, "No, you stay there." His plan was for me to sit in this chair the entire camping trip, to build this bubble around me. All of a sudden, this wasn't fun anymore. I'm sitting in this chair, all upset. I have to sit here this whole camping trip. My brothers run off and play. They take their BB gun, aiming in the opposite direction where I was at, shooting 10 cans. It hits a 10 can, it ricochets. Who does it hit in the eye? Me. My father stopped camping. He says, "We keep camping, Shawn's going to kill himself." So I proceeded to not go camping ever again until I hit college. And I was in college and I had friends all of a sudden go, "Hey, how about if we go camping?" And I was like, "Oh my God, wait, I'm older now. I could do this. No problem. Sounds good. Let's go camping." So we went camping. Now, we went up there. My friends had younger children. It was time to go sleep. My brother was there. He was making fun of me of all the times I got hurt and injured and was laughing at me and telling all my friends. I'm like, "Thanks a lot." My friends' younger ones wanted to sleep in our tent. They sent them off their tent. It's time to go to sleep. I'm like, "Okay, yeah, they come sleep with me. It's no problem." And when I'm going to bed and I'm laying there and I'm kind of asleep, but not asleep, and you're in a dream state where you're just laying there and I'm hearing my name, "Shawn." I'm like, "Yeah." "Shawn." "Yeah." "Fire." Now, when you hear the word fire, you immediately wake up. I grabbed the tent wall. I didn't unzip. I ripped. I looked out, saw the scariest sight in the whole world. The forest, which was recently pitch black, is now glowing orange. See, I went to a place called Ice House. If you guys know and live around here, you know about the Ice House fire. It happened because I showed up. It wasn't that I set it on fire. Mother Nature's like, "He's back. Let's get him. Let's make up for lost time." So I was like, "We got to get out of here. Let's go. Let's pack up and get out of here." My friend said, "Oh, we will, but Bradley ran off to see how bad it is." The forest is on fire. How bad does it have to be? So we got a new plan. We must stay together. And they're like, "Okay, we'll stay together when Bradley gets back." Now my older brother, taking over, doing what an older brother does, decided to pack up camp. All I cared about was two things. One, I grabbed my sketchbook, put it in the car. Two, I grabbed the children, threw their clothes on, and put them in the car, and I was ready to go. For all as I'm concerned, this camp stuff can burn down because I'm never using it again. My brother's loading up my pickup truck, running back and forth, putting everything in, grabbing the ice chest, putting it in, grabbing the sleeping bags, putting it in. Bradley comes running back, and he goes, "If we don't leave now, we're never getting out of here." I'm like, "Oh my God," he didn't have to say that. I was already terrified. I'm like, "All right, remember our plan. We are to stay together." My brother's grabbing the last thing to load in my pickup truck, and that was a rubber raft. I'm like, "What do we need a rubber raft for? Get rid of that thing." He throws it, hits a tree, bounces off a tree, comes back, hits him, knocks him over. It's like a Laurel and Hardy routine going on. I'm like, "Get in the car." So he's getting in the car. I'm like, "Remember, we must stay together." It's like, okay. Now, the car I was driving, This car I had in high school. It's a Chevy S10 pickup. It's a mini truck. I'm 6'7". It's kind of funny seeing me in a mini truck. I kind of look like one of those clowns coming out of the circus when you step out of the truck. And it was cool back in high school to lower it and slam it as low as possible. I did what was cool. It was also very cool to put in an awesome stereo. Let's put all my money into the stereo sound system. That's what I wanted. That was it. Truck looked fine, ran okay. Didn't put much money in maintenance of the truck. So sometimes it started, sometimes it didn't. So I go to start on my truck. Oh, please start. Vroom, it starts. Yes. Turn to everyone. We're staying together. My friend's wife throws her car in reverse, slams down the gas, and speeds up and boom, goes up this embankment and gets caught on a dead log. Starts hollering, I'm stuck, I'm stuck, I'm stuck. It's like, oh God, we got to get it out. I jump out of the car, me and my brother start rocking our car back and forth, putting rocks underneath. She finally catches, takes off, and she's driving up the road. I'm all, stay together, stay together. And as I run to get into my truck goes, and quits. My brother's like, what's wrong with your car? It's like, nothing. Sometimes it starts, sometimes it doesn't. You know you need to change your oil every 3,000 miles. I'm like, I don't need a lecture about the car right now. I go to start it. And it's, it's a stick shift. So every time I'm pushing the clutch and you're on a hill, you start rolling down the hill the wrong way. So you're jumping back and forth, jumping back, and finally it starts catching. I just push down on the gas. Just go. And I'm flying up this dirt road, hitting every rock, boulder, stick, pine cone, ripping out the bottom of my truck. I don't care. I'm getting out of here. We're driving, come around the corner, and there's a traffic jam. All the cars are stopped. Right next to me is this tree, completely on fire. I can feel the heat coming through. It is blistering my paint on my car. And I'm wondering what people are doing. And you see these people running by, as good scouts that they are, to go throw dirt onto this tree with their hands. Are you kidding me? What idiots think they can put this fire out, throwing dirt on it with their hands? And my friends go running by to go be the good scout, to throw dirt onto the tree. Hey guys, I'm parked next to this fire. Car, gas, fire, boom, let's move. And they're like, oh yeah, it's a good idea, let's move. So they all move and clear it off. We have to regroup. I pull up next to the lake that's sitting right there. And if we see the fire jumps the road, we are trapped. The only place we can go to safety is in the lake. The only thing we did not pack, or my brother did not pack, was the rubber raft. We could roast weenies if we wanted to, but we didn't have the one thing that would help us. So I turned to my brother and said, hey, you need to go get our friends. I'm going to take the women and children out of here. We're going to regroup at the ranger station. We need to let them know the fire's going on, and we need to get out of here. My brother took over, being the older brother that he is. Now, my brother, I love him dearly. Always felt he was on the opposite end of where I'm at. See, I'm an art teacher. He is a math teacher. He teaches statistics. He always calls me artsy-fartsy. I make fun of his pocket protector. We're all good. That was pretty much our life of how we always lived together. Then my brother took over, starts giving me directions, as a good math teacher would. You need to head up this road, 3.7 miles heading east. Then you will turn north, going 2.6 miles. And then you go down the road a little ways, about 4.3 miles, and just off to your left-hand side, you'll see the ranger station. I'm like, who gives directions like that? Are you kidding me? Now, so that's not how you get there. This is how you get there. And I started giving my directions. You're going to drive up this road for a little bit, and right off the left-hand side, you're going to see this beautiful moss rock, all covered in this purplish, greenish moss. Turn right there. Drive a little bit further, and just off to the left-hand side, you're going to come across where these trees filled and look like a church altar. Turns right there. And then you go up a little bit further, and down off to the right side of the road, you're going to run into the ranger station. My brother goes, I don't care how you get there, just get there. I'm like, okay, we'll meet up. Jump in the car, start taking off. Now, I'm the baby of the family, and as being a baby, it is my job to always make sure that my older siblings are always wrong. So I paid attention to my brother's directions, because if I got lost, I would blame him. So as I was driving to the 10th of a mile, my brother was correct. I'm like, are you kidding me? What is he, like Rain Man? The whole trip he's driving up here, he's pulling out the driveway. Yep. Left and freeway, going to the freeway, 3.3 miles, that's where we're at. Yep. This guy's insane. It was amazing. I was amazed by it. And I got there to the 10th of the mile. He was absolutely correct. We eventually met back up. We're driving home. And I decided to tell my brother, I said, James, I listened to your directions, and I was really impressed. See, I always thought we were so far apart from each other, but what I learned that night is actually me and my brother just think differently. He thinks in numbers, I think in pictures. And once I realized that, we're not too different from each other. It's just how we process information. I went through and told him how impressed I was by the numbers, and he actually turned around and he goes, you know what? When I was driving out of there, I was paying attention to your directions because if you were wrong, I was going to blame you. And he said, I never noticed that rock with a purplish, greenish moss, and I never noticed that altar with trees that fell down, and it did. It looked like an altar. And all of a sudden, he had the same appreciation of how I saw things. We both look at the world differently. So from there, I realized that I need to respect more about how my brother sees things and be open to how he approaches things. It's just a little bit different for me, and I have to find that connection with pictures with him. Now, I told you I only cared about two things. One thing I cared about was my sketchbook, and the other one was the kids, and I threw their clothes on. Well, one of the children, Matthew, was sitting in the back of the seat the whole time when we were driving, and he just had this terrified look on his face. And this look of also pain. And we're like, are you okay? And he's like, And then when we got home, he started walking funny. And I'm like, oh no, I scarred this child for life. My camping has ruined him. He'll never go camping again. And I'm like, Matthew, you're okay? What's wrong? What's wrong? And when we checked on him, in my rush to get him dressed, I just grabbed him and threw his clothes on, and I happened to throw him his pants on backwards. He rode the 2-hour trip home, terrified to say anything with his pants on backwards. And you would have that same painful, terrified look if you rode for 2 hours with your pants on backwards, just like Matthew. So there you go. There's my story. Now, that's usually how my class starts off. Stories are not as long as mine. We're trying to get them to where they add details and add information, and that they need to think on the spot to do things. So after they just do a story, and it's a short story of telling information like that, they end up doing a second story for the second part of the class. And it's a little more improv. My favorite tool for this class is Pictionary cards. If you're a teacher, get one of these. It's very helpful. I use it for lots of things in here. And one of the things we do is for story time. Their second story time, is that they'll come up, when it's their time to tell a story, they'll grab a card. And there's 5 words on here. These 5 words, they need to, and they're looking at them as soon as they walk into the class. So they have to form a story using these 5 words. On the spot. Now, our audience is going to listen to the story, and it becomes a game. The storyteller is going to interweave these 5 words into their story, and we're trying to find these 5 words. As a listener, you get 5 guesses out here. And if we can guess those 5 words for every time, see, every project I do in here is worth 500 points. So the story time is worth 500 points. But every time someone guesses one of the words, they lose 100 points. And it becomes their story time grade. So if someone guesses 3 words, they only got 200 points for that story time. So instead of me telling you a story, thought I would demo it with one of my students telling you a story. And then we're going to play this story with each other to see how well, so you can see how easy or how hard it is to use 5 words on the spot to tell a story. So you guys ready for this?
I can weave a couple true stories out of this, so let's see what I can do. Okay, so elementary school taught me more about economics than anything else ever will. The lunch timetable, we would trade food with each other in such an intricate and professional manner, except the problem was we were dealing with fruit snacks and Go-Gurts. So food became our currency in this school. So what a couple of friends and I devised is we decided to try to swindle as much money out of people as we could, like any good student will. And so we set up this table. It was just your average card table. We put all of our group on this table, and we said, all right, this is the cool kid table. And you know how you have to pay a tax. So what you do is each person who wanted to sit at the cool kid table would have to contribute one item of food on to the main government, that was us, and we would pack all of this. The reason it was the cool kid table is we would pack all of the aforementioned collected food and put it into a sandwich. And then we would convince one guy to eat that sandwich, and it would drive all the girls away, which was awesome because that made this the cool kid table. So eventually, we realized we were making a lot of food off of this and getting a lot of disgusting sandwiches with yogurt and other sandwiches and pre-cooked school lunches and chips and whatever type of food you could think of under the sun into this sandwich. So eventually, we raised the prices, and we became the richest guys in the entire school because of what the economics of the cafeteria taught us.
All right.
It's the top two. I can't
Top
weave
two.
into a story of mine.
Oh, come on. Don't you remember when we saw our favorite movie together? Bridesmaid?
Subtle. Yeah, it was so funny. I laughed so hard that my heart gave out and I had to get a pacemaker into my chest
There you
just
go.
to survive the whole thing. That was weird.
There you go. All right, so yeah, 5 words to guess. See hands. So the first hand up right here. Yes, sir?
Deported?
Deported. Ah, yes, you got that one. Bang. Yes, ma'am?
Economics.
Economics. No, point for him. Ding. Yes, sir? Bridesmaid. Yeah, how'd you get that one? Oh, yeah. Lost another point. Got an eager hand right over here. Yes, sir? Intricate. No. Point for Mr. Hall. Let's go to this side of the room. Yes, ma'am? Pacemaker. Yeah. All right. So good job. So we got a 200 out of 500.
Hard to fit in there.
Yeah, there's always some strange words in there that you have to find a way to get them in, but that's part of having and sharing with somebody, that you need to be able to find a way to get to the points that you want to get to. So as you can see, just having a student stand up here and just giving 5 words, giving them practice and confidence to be able to say, hey, I can tell stories just off the cuff. I can share information with somebody and make them believe. I can do this, which all of a sudden as a teacher, what I'm looking for more than anything is that they have the confidence to work with each other. Once they tell a story about themselves and then they do a story with these cards, all of a sudden, that being scared to stand up in front of people within this classroom, they know that everyone else has to do this. So they build this confidence that they're willing to share stories with each other. And that's really tough for a teenager to do something. Because when you're making films, you're putting yourself out here on your sleeve. Especially when you have to work with others or share your story with others, you're always afraid of that one thing, rejection. They're not going to like what I said. Oh my God. No one enjoys it. But what they realize is, people actually want to hear stories. This is how history was passed on, storytellers. And as our desire as humans, we love story. If it was a story around a campfire, if it was a story that was written in books, eventually made into films, each time we just kept finding a way to tell a story different in a different type of media. And we go back to it because we want to hear story. Now, story is not just done with words. Story is also told through the elements and principles of art. See, when you're filming, you are making an art piece. How you frame it, how you light it, your subject matter. You are to set it up to help tell a story. You're not just going to have someone in there regurgitate over and over what your lines are. You have to push it through by setting up different aspects of this. So what do I have up here right now? What's that? Circle. Absolutely correct. Circles, they're known to be safe. They make us feel safe. They're for cute characters, cute and lovable. Yep. For the heads. For the wheels. It is that whole aspect of dealing with, if you think about certain characters, like, let's think of cute round character, Kirby, my video game people. Yeah. Just a giant ball. Mike. Yeah. He's our cute, lovable character that we come back to all the time because he's definitely not scary. He tries to be scary, but he's not scary at all. So let's take a look at our next shape. What's this? Rectangle. Rectangles are known to be strong and dependable. This is where we find our superheroes. This is our strength because we have to trust certain things. This is actually like a building, correct? If I ask you to draw a basic outline of a building, that's a building right there. We have to depend, being inside this building, that we trust that these walls will not fall on us, or we would not come into this building. We're depending on that. Would not be fun if that happens. So rectangles are a whole aspect of being trustworthy, strong, dependable. What we got here? Triangles. Triangles are evil. We don't like triangles. Matter of fact, what we really don't like is not necessarily the triangles, but the points that triangles make. They make us feel really uncomfortable. Anything with a point that comes near us makes us feel uneasy. We don't like it. Makes us unnerving. Am I wrong? A little nervous laugh happens. So, we don't like those points, those triangles. That is an evil character. Yes, sir?
And also, sometimes the evil people have the pointy nose.
That's right. You think about any of the evil characters. Oh my goodness. They go to all those points in their characteristics. Absolutely correct. One of the greatest villains of all time. My personal favorite. Darth Vader. That guy on his face has triangles everywhere. His grill, his chin, his cheeks. He's triangled up. There is some round characteristics to him. But if you know anything about Darth Vader, he's really Anakin. So they're giving you some hint that yes, he's an evil guy, but at the same time, he's a trustworthy guy too. He was at one time. And if you know the whole saga, spoiler alert, Darth Vader returns back to being Anakin at the end for his son. If you haven't seen the movie by now, sorry. Ruined it for you. All right. Taking these shapes, if we've been listening to different people in here, that you can use these shapes to design anything you want. So just putting 3 shapes together in here, what is that? Pencil. Pencil. What else? I heard it over here. Person. Anything else?
Pen.
A pen. See, the best thing about art and designing and creating things, there's no wrong answers. Said this earlier. It's not a math class. In here, you decide and see something, that's what it is. So if you're creating it, knowing the things that make people feel certain ways, just understanding the properties of what each one of these shapes represent, you're able to create things. So if I was telling a story with this object right here, an ice cream cone, there's not too much danger, though I do have a triangle in it. We like the ice cream, that's good. But you got the cone. That's bad. All parents know cones are bad. Reason why they're bad is because the kids, it's where it gets messy. Especially when you go, and they always want, I want the triple scoop. Sparrow, you know you're in trouble. You're like, no, no. And they always lick from one side, not paying attention to the other side. It's going to tip over. The danger's coming just because of that cone. It's much better to be in a cup. It's more dependable. We can have 3 scoops in a cup, not on a cone. That's bad. So, I have here, since we're playing a shape game, I just drew some shapes, threw them up there. We'll just make this like a frame for us. What could this be? Anyone have any ideas what this could be? Yes, sir, in the back.
The bottom one's like the surface of the planet, and then like 2 other planets.
What? You got a surface of the planet across the bottom, and then we have 2 other planets? Now let's start adding some things to this frame. Some more shapes. Oh, I didn't add much there. Now we understand that if we are looking for something safe, we have it. Now we have something that's dependable that's sitting up here. That's what we know as a rectangle. So we keep adding to this. And let's take a look at something else. Since what I added are safe, dependable, we now need to add something evil in here. So our triangle is going to come in. Oh, where did the circle go? What's going on now? Yes, ma'am.
I immediately thought of UFO.
Thought of a UFO. Okay, sounds good to me. So you guys came up with some really great ideas. But in these shapes right here, I'm going to tell you, this is a story. And it's probably a story some of you have already seen. Let's take a look. It's the opening to Star Wars. All those shapes were about telling story. It wasn't an accident. When they were making this, they knew to set up these shots to help explain and make people feel a certain way. Just by me outlining these shots, you guys are all feeling something, but understanding shape theory of what circles make you feel, what rectangles make you feel, what triangles make you feel, they told the story. This is the very first opening shot in Star Wars, and they're able to tell that story to you in a few seconds of who the good guys are, where they're trying to get away from, and who's the bad guy. In seconds, in just pure shapes. So, when you're looking to tell stories, most of the time we're just focused on who's in front of our camera. You need to also think about your surroundings in your frame. What are other ways that I can help make my points of my story by using basic shapes? How you frame things, how you set things up. It's the reason why when you see horror films, whenever I watch films and they always show the bad guys, it drives me insane because they do this cheat all the time. They tilt the camera. And when they tilt the camera, it causes these triangles to automatically form because we're used to looking at the world this way. But when you put it in a frame and you tilt everything, it makes diagonals and makes triangles. And anyone that's a little off in the film, they immediately do that. And so whenever you're watching a film and they tilt it, you're like, don't do that to me. I now know who the bad guy is. And you weren't supposed to, I want to find out later. It's like, spoiler alert, you just did it visually to me. So I tell all my students coming in this classroom, I'm going to destroy everything you love. You're going to watch films completely differently. You're going to look at things and you're going to sit in movie theaters and you're going to get upset going, oh, they just told me who the bad guy is. And all your friends are like, who's the bad guy? You don't want to know. Just enjoy the film. Just to let you know, I know, I'll tell you later. I'm just saying it out loud so you guys all know that I knew before it actually happened. So now I'm dealing with, still with shape theory, but going to show you another way that how they use shapes in helping with story. So we have right up here, we quickly look at this, throwing out shapes. It's more defined than what I showed you on the last one. What is this? What does it look like to you? What's that? Hobbit Town. Yes. Ah, there's a person. Teletubbies, that's another one I get. So it's like a place where we recognize and we feel and we understand and we've seen this before. Yeah?
A three-eyed whale.
A three-eyed whale. I can see it. I can totally see it. Blowing water out. What's this? It's a castle. Not challenging at all. Absolutely correct. I think you were on to something, though. We'll go to the next one. You have to recognize that one. It is Lord of the Rings. This is the whole travel. We start off in Hobbit Town, where it's safe, the Shire. Everything is feeling good to him. And then he has to go off, and as we travel through, he ends up having issues where we need trustworthy, reliable people. So we go off to the castle where it's all at, and he's traveling eventually to Mount Mordor to drop the ring off where it's all evil. The whole trilogy is based off of shape theory of where they're going from one place, from feeling safe to reliable characters, all the way up to our evil Mount Mordor. Let's see what you guys know about color. Oh boy. You like color? There you go. So, can anyone tell me what the primary colors are? Ooh, can you tell me one? Because a lot of people seem to know. So I'm going to start over here. Give me one primary color.
Yellow.
What's that?
Yellow.
Yellow is a primary color. Let's go over to this side. Red is a primary color. And we're going to come back over here. Blue. Red, yellow, and blue. Taking these three colors, we're able to make more colors. So the other colors that we're going to be wanting to know the information from, what are the secondary colors? Someone tell me a secondary color. Yes, sir. Orange, absolutely correct. Do you know how to get orange? You know what colors to make orange? Oh. Yellow and what? Yellow and red, absolutely correct. Yellow and red gets you to orange. What is another one, sir? Green. Green, how do we get green? Blue and yellow mixed together gives us green. And then we're going to go to, let's get another hand. Yes, what's the other one? Purple. How do we get purple? Red and blue. See, my son always tells me his favorite colors are red and blue. And I go, why? Because it makes purple. And I go, do you like purple? And he goes, no, I don't like purple. So he told me that ever since he was little, and he still gives me that same answer now, and he's in 8th grade. And I always ask him, do you like purple? He's like, no, I don't like purple. It's just red and blue. Because it makes purple is why I like it. So now, see how well we can do with this. On the color wheel, we have primary, secondary. Then you have what are called tertiary colors. You guys know what those are? In between. Oh, in between. Can you tell me one of them?
I have to say like indigo.
Oh, no. There's a trick to this. You know, sir? Red what? You're close. You're halfway there. Yes, sir? There you go. It's called blue-green. Absolutely correct. It falls in between green and blue. So it falls in the area of blue-green. So if we have blue-green, we already know what makes green is blue and yellow, right? So it would be another tertiary. If you have blue-green, you must have to have what? What's the other one? Green-yellow. But you know what? Colors are real about hierarchy. It's really important to them that if I am the primary, the most important, I must be said first. There you go. It's because those secondaries, they're beneath them. That's how they feel. So whenever we talk about tertiary, we always deal with the primary color and then the secondary color. So you have yellow-green, red-orange, blue-green, blue-purple, or it's more known as blue-violet is the proper way of saying it. So these are all tertiary, third aspects of color. Now, if we add two colors to this color wheel, we can make any color in the world. Do we know what these two colors are? What is it? I heard somebody say it. Black and white. Yes, they're called neutral colors. You have black, you have white, you mix it together and you make what? Gray. So there's our neutrals right there. Having those colors from the color wheel that we just talked about and black and white, you can pretty much make any color in the world. So you have primary, secondary, tertiary, and neutral colors. Now, like I said, nothing is left to chance when making a film. We talked about shapes, and they use these shapes to help describe what is happening in the story. They also use color to help describe what is happening in a story. So we're constantly thinking about this. We constantly think about shape. We constantly think about color. We have to design our sets. We have to design our characters. We have to design, write our stories. And we have to make our own sound. We do it all. Now, the good news is things have come a long ways for you guys to be able to do things. Now, when I first started, sitting over here in this far corner, is what's called a pencil test station. When I first started teaching 20 years ago in dealing with animation, the only thing that we could afford to do pencil test stations to draw our animation and film it and see it was basically a surveillance deck, a surveillance video camera that they use at like Circle K. And those things were very expensive. To get a deck, to get a camera, you're talking about $8,000 just to get that set up. Then a new tool came along. We're like, wow, you know, there was another animation person going, this is real expensive, but I think I can make something that could be done very easy where it can take individual pictures. And sitting right over here is what's called a lunchbox, which is next to my surveillance system deck. A lunchbox. You can see why they call it a lunchbox. Because the guy who made it actually made everything and put it in a lunchbox. And then he started selling it to the animation community to film frame by frame, taking pictures. And what this did was amazing because the old surveillance deck, if I took pictures, if I made a mistake, I was done. I had to start all over. But with the lunchbox, if I made a mistake, I was able to go back right here on this machine, delete the frame I didn't want, put in new frames, exchange the length of frames, and be able to test my animation and see how well it's done. Now we fast forward to today. Oh, by the way, that lunchbox, $5,000. Came down in price. Now the other day I was online. If you have a smartphone, $1. You can get a lunchbox. Use your phone to do animation with. The app is called Stop Motion, and it costs $1. And it does everything that lunchbox did for $5,000. And you have a camera built in on your phone. So now you're doing it how I used to do when I was young. First film I ever made, I was 10 years old. Took my mom and dad's video camera, duct taped it to my bookcase, and shot straight down to take my pictures. Now you just have a little cell phone. They even sell things that allow you to attach it to a tripod. I think it's like $10 if you want to really splurge on this. So you can be able to point straight down, put a drawing underneath, and take your pictures. You don't even have to do drawings. You can take pictures of your friends and treat them like drawings. Where you take a picture of them and make a move. Take a picture of them, make a move. Take a picture of them, make a move. And then they're going to look like they're sliding and gliding all around. Can't beat that for $1. That's how much technology has gone in 20 years. We go from $8,000 to $1. I just keep it out there just because it just reminds me of where we came from. Some of the kids go and play with it, and they're just like, wow, this is really difficult. Because they've gotten to what's sitting in front of you right now. We have what are called Cintiqs. These monitors in front of you are special monitors. They allow you to draw directly on the screen.
Awesome.
The software that they're using in here is professional grade software. You can't even buy it. When you go to the company wanting to use their software, the software we use in here is Toon Boom. But they have a professional grade one. They've upgraded this lab for us. And it's the same software that's used to make SpongeBob, The Simpsons, and all that sort of stuff. The students that come through here, they get certified on that software just going through this class. Now, only reason why that's here is because I have put in a lot of years teaching. And you have companies that come and say, oh, we want to give you this because we've heard about what you've done, we've seen what you've done, and I'm okay with them giving me things if it makes life easier for my kids. I'll be your poster child. No problem. But most computers come today with free editing software. Or they come with some drawing tool. If you're able to take what comes with your computer and you have a way to bring images in, such as an editing software, and you're able to draw, you can do that same process. All animation is frame by frame of moving. So it's drawing by drawing by drawing. It takes 24 drawings to get 1 second of film. It's a lot of work. But there are cheats. You can have a frame, a drawing on screen up to 3 frames without it looking like a slideshow. So if we do 3 frames per drawing, and it takes 24 frames to get 1 second, so how many drawings would I have to do to get 1 second of film? 8. See, you guys came here how to do math. So if you do 8 drawings, you can get 1 second for animation. Now you can really cheat. Be like Hanna-Barbera cartoons. You guys remember Yogi Bear? Hey, boo-boo, let's go get us some picnic baskets and get us something good to eat. Now, they designed Yogi Bear to simplify their life. Can anyone tell me what Yogi Bear wears? Yes, sir. Hat and tie. They put a hat and tie on him not because they wanted to say he had class. Wear a hat and tie, you're ready to go into any nice restaurant. That's not the reason at all. It was to make their life easier. See, what happened is Yogi Bear would walk in, he would stop, and then they would leave the body sitting there. They wouldn't redraw it. All they would do is just animate the head. And they put a tie there to hide the seam from the head to the body. It was a cheat. And then they would even cheat even further. They just knew they needed a head looking this way and this way. They didn't need to draw it looking this way. Why is that? Because they can take that drawing that's looking this way and just flip it so it looks this way. And then they designed it where it didn't have the features of the face, the mouth. You notice when you watch Yogi Bear talk, his jaw doesn't move up and down. It's just his mouth that opens and closes. It takes 11 mouth positions to do the English language. So you draw one body, one head that looks this way, and one head that looks forward, 3 drawings, and then 11 mouth positions that we can use over and over on the head that flips either way. And then we can get Yogi Bear and Boo Boo talking about their favorite picnic baskets. So those are the cheats that they did, because they had to pump these cartoons out. Basically, every 3 months, there was a new cartoon that had to be done when they were making these. And it was a team of like 6 to 8 people working on this. So they didn't have a lot of time. Now, if you look at featured films today, from start to finish, when they actually start production, not even talking about working on story, starting production, it takes 2 years. Story before that starts even way before that. But story is the most important aspect. That's the reason why I was saying, hey, let's get, today was all about talking about story, getting people to share ideas, be able to pitch an idea. And once you have that, then let's look around beyond center figure, the most important aspect. In this shot, Bruce Willis, everyone just stares at Bruce Willis, but there's things happening. The color affects how we feel. The color helps tells us a story. The shapes that are around them helps make us feel a certain way. It helps pushing your story further without using words, just by pure visuals. And it doesn't matter what you're going to make for the SEVAs. If it is dealing with a news report, or if you are doing a documentary, these are things that you need to be thinking about to help tell your story. Don't rely on words alone. How you frame things, how you show things matters. And the biggest thing I say to all my students is don't focus on what everyone else is focusing on. It's very easy to put the person front and center of camera and everyone looks here. Block that person out and look at everything else around them. That's usually what we overlook when we're framing and setting things up. Is something coming out of a person's head? Is there a light sitting in the background? Is there a microphone dipping in? Whatever it is. It's about planning. And planning shapes and planning colors happens way before we turn the camera on.